Hey guys, before I get into it, I deeply want to apologize how long this video was going to be, but there was just so much I wanted to talk about. You're going to hear me repeat things multiple times, but I just really wanted to get into it because, well, you'll see in the video, but anyways, I just want to bring that up. But yeah, I wrote over 70 pages for this. I mean, the letters are quite big, but yeah, it doesn't hide the fact that I was sitting in that room for an hour and a half, and just I said some words I messed up, so I edited them out. But you get what I mean. But yeah, I deeply apologize. But I usually say this at the end of the video, but I'm going to say it now. If you enjoy the video, make sure to like and maybe subscribe for more. You can also follow me on X or maybe Instagram or maybe Blue Sky. If you have any of those accounts, give me a follow there. But yeah, hopefully this video might speak to you if you get what I'm going for when it comes to these reasons. But anyways, hope you guys enjoy the video. Bluey time.
Dude, you know this show's for babies, right? The character Muffin is basically Caillou. She's nothing but a brat. Dude, you literally own a room full of this type of stuff that's clearly aimed towards children. Why can't you be watching something more mature?
Quit being happy! You're a grown man! Grown men are supposed to be miserable and have terrible lives!
Forget you. I'm going home to watch some hot, lewd anime with hot anime girls. God, I love this show. The morals are so meaningful. Why can't our world be more like this show? It's the perfect escape.
Hey guys, what is up? This is Matthew. It's me once again. And yep, I'm making another video involving Bluey. If you guys are getting tired of it, I'm sorry, but, well, there are plenty of reasons why I keep making them, and it's something I deeply want to discuss in this video. For the past 2.5 years, I've been a fan. This show about this little blue dog has made such a big impact on me, even though this show came out during my adult years. Like, literally, when I turned into an adult back in 2018, like just a couple weeks after. And it's supposedly aimed towards children, or so it seems. And when I go online, it has a massive fan base from adults and teens alike. And of course, because of its look, and how it may seem like just another Cocomelon or Peppa Pig, people, of course, like to think that's just what it is without actually watching it. Because I feel like most people who judge the show may not have even watched it. Because of those reasons, people get treated poorly for enjoying something they love. Something that makes them feel good, something that brings them comfort. And when I released my video on my Bluey room tour, this room in particular, I did mostly get positive feedback, but I did receive some comments which I did remove on people judging me for that reason alone. But did I care? No, I honestly found it rather funny because clearly they did not read rule number 3 on my rule list for this room. It's like that DW meme all over again. And yes, I remembered to show it in the video. But seriously, no one should be judged for it. There are many reasons why it's made such a big impact on people like myself. As in 2024, it became the most streamed show in the US, which I think is far more than well-deserved in my opinion. Even Jimmy Fallon is a fan, as Bandit and Chili's voice actors Dave McCormick and Melanie Zanetti appeared on his show, and they themselves didn't even meet until they went on his show, just before the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in 2022 when Bluey first made her debut. It even won over so many big YouTubers like The Odd Ones Out and Saberspark, and even inspired more people to make Bluey-related content, and I am going on a deep dive on why Bluey is more than just your basic kids show. I know some people might have already done videos like this before, and might have been overly explained, but I just want to keep spreading the word. especially since it's made a big impact on this channel, and how the show is far more important than one would assume. So here we go, guys. Strap yourselves in. I am going into the reasons why Bluey is important and why the world needed it. I am certainly not the only one to do a deep dive on this topic, like I mentioned before, but I want to express why it's been something I got into and why I enjoy making content surrounding it. So let's begin. This is not a top 10. These reasons are in no particular order. These are all just the reasons I want to talk about. So let's get into it. Creativity. If there's one thing Bluey is known for, is being creative with its episodes, as each episode isn't just about random things happening, but having a story to them. And the fact that the making never rushes on an episode, hence why we still have just 3 seasons, even though the show came out in 2018. But creator Joe Brum manages to get so many ideas with the games Bluey and Bingo play. But when it comes to the perspective to certain episodes, like in Rain, when there's no dialogue, at least not after the title screen, and only focusing on the music, and Bluey building a water dam in the driveway, or in Sleepy Time, where it goes into a deep dive on the dreams Bluey and Bingo are having, or when stories are told in drawing form like Escape or Dragon, they also do such phenomenal jobs on the metaphors they put into the episodes, like how life works in Flat Pack, or recreating and getting over your traumatic past in space. Clearly, there has been so much effort put into the show throughout the years, and even when it comes to the designs of the characters themselves, how they represent real-life dog breeds is so unique. They also managed to get creative with the dialogue, putting in so many quotable lines that fans like to keep bringing up.
I'm not taking advice from a cartoon dog.
Not to mention, with each episode comes a new song. They hardly ever reuse older songs unless it's necessary. The music itself is some of the best music I have heard from any kid show, and it makes parents feel more relieved after hearing Barney sing I Love You for the millionth time in every episode, or the amount of Cocomelon songs you had to hear because your child just can't get enough of them. Why else do you think they released 3 albums already? Besides, they do such a great job when it comes to the emotion during the music. Lazarus Drug from The Sign, it is impossible not to cry during that song, especially not during the episode itself. There has been so much talent put into the show that it shows these people, including the voice actors, love making the show, and they like putting real effort into it rather than just rush it. Plus, the creators clearly show they care about their child stars, who are also super talented when it comes to voicing these kids that we've grown to know and love. Unlike Peppa Pig or Arthur, or most of these shows that credit the kids for their voice acting work, we don't know who voices any of these kids. And that's actually very smart. It's to keep them safe and let them have healthy lives without having to worry about fame getting to them. Unlike Dan Schneider, who literally destroyed the lives of many child stars when it comes to his actions. Yes, I know, the shows are technically live action, but still, I thought I'd bring that up. Anyways, the show hardly ever gets repetitive, and why I feel it should at least be respected because of that, for the creativity that the creators put into the show. Also, because the show is set in Brisbane, Australia, they managed to make the show a full creation of the respected location, packed with hidden details to the location and recreated areas in an animated setting. It's pure Australian culture at its finest. Even though I'm not fully familiar with the country, this show makes me curious to understand more of it, because there's a lot to Australia in the show most viewers in America probably won't understand. But anyways, I thought I would bring that up. It focuses on other characters too. The show may be called Bluey, but it also manages to focus on other characters as well. Some not even focused on the Healer family. Like there's one focused on Chloe trying to teach her dad how to play octopus, or Winton helping Indy make a clay horse, or how Jack got to make friends with Rusty for the very first time. Speaking of Rusty, he was actually supposed to be the protagonist of the show until it was changed to Bluey. And that's why Joe Brum gave us the episode Cricket, how it focuses on Rusty's dedication to cricket, but also showing how deeply he cares for his family. Like, he's willing to take care of his family while his dad is out in the army. Each character manages to have their own story to tell. One episode that hit me very deeply was in the episode Space, where Mackenzie was trying to reenact his traumatic past with his friends, and sometimes it can focus on the adults too, like how dedicated Calypso is to teaching her students. Or how Pat, aka Lucky's dad, teaches kids that it's okay to lose as long as you're happy with the winner. Even if Bluey is in specific episodes, that doesn't mean it's always focusing on her. Of course, a lot of the times, it'll focus on Bingo or Bandit and Chili. The show always manages to find unique ways of having us connect with these characters, and while shows like Arthur have also focused on other characters rather than just Arthur, Bluey certainly manages to get those same vibes while being a bit shorter when it comes to their stories. But it's more than enough for us to want more from them. I love when other characters appear on screen. It makes the world just feel more colorful. Well, in a personal way, that is. But there will be more talk when it comes to the characters later. It takes us back to the days of childhood and imagination. Let's go back to a time when life was more simple, especially for kids, how we always had to use our imaginations to have fun. Bluey has come up with so many games throughout the show, and watching these kids play these inventive games makes us miss the days of when we didn't always have to rely on tablets and smartphones for kids to have fun. It also makes us look back at what it felt like being a kid. We always thought it would be more fun living in adulthood, but it really isn't. That's why it's great to watch the show as an adult, reliving those days, because adults can also relate what the kids go through, whether it be making new friends that come into our lives for a little bit and then eventually have to go just a few days later, or maybe even shorter than that, or always wanting to play with our parents, or feeling like Muffin, and by that, I mean felt a little too wild when it came to, wanting to do what she wanted to. Or how about the days of visiting the creek and experiencing the beauty of it? I remember going to the creek a lot during my younger years. I've had so many adventures with my old friends going to the creek that I kind of miss those days. I miss those adventures, and I love how Bluey makes me look back on those days. That's why there's no shame in adults watching it. If anything, adults should watch at least one episode in their lives to understand more, or maybe even two. Our lives were far more simple as kids, and because of the attention adults have been giving it, we should really be thanking Joe Brum for taking us back. It teaches kids far more important things than just letters and numbers. What's the one thing preschoolers like to teach kids? Letters and numbers. The basics. They also like to teach them about animals and spelling and counting and eating your vegetables, which certainly is important for kids, especially if they want to communicate with other people. But those are things anyone can learn, really. I mean, almost everybody has learned them, but Bluey likes to teach kids about things without having to talk to the kid audience. Like how Dora always keeps asking the kids questions, wanting to reply. Bluey never needed that. The show has made such a great impact on teaching kids deep things, like how the rules of certain games make the game more fun, or how it's okay to lose, or how your parents will love you for you, or the representation of kids having certain disabilities, or showing kids that there are ways of solving your problems, or keep trying until you succeed, or how you need to be patient once in a while, or how even the things that are boring are things that we still need in order to be healthy or have fun. Now yeah, it does have things other kids shows have taught, like how sharing is caring and it's important to clean up, or it's nice to help others, but it can also bring in subjects kids can learn about more, like letting go of your trauma. Or how about in Turtle Boy, where someone leaves a toy turtle behind and how it's not right to take something that belonged to someone else because they might still be looking for it. Or how it's best to do what your parents tell you to do. It manages to spread so many positive themes for kids that kids can learn and understand more of. To me, these are the types of shows I'd always approve of if I was a parent, because Joe Brum himself is a parent, and this show represents his family life. It makes it all that more great of an effect towards children. But of course, it isn't just the kids that can learn from the show, but more on that later. It was originally supposed to be for adults only. We're going to be discussing, of course, how it appeals to adults just as much as it does kids, but first, let's look at a fact that most people probably weren't aware about. And that's the fact that creator Joe Brum originally wanted it to be like more of an R-rated version of Peppa Pig. I am not kidding. And how it would focus on the lives of parenting. However, this was then changed so it can appeal to a wider audience. That way, it can be viewed more often, so it'll speak to basically anybody. As we have had adult-themed shows with mature subjects in the past, also involving animal people like BoJack Horseman, so changing it to make it far more appealing to a younger audience was definitely a smart move. That way anyone can watch it, so if people tell you it's just for kids, tell them this fact. Because in reality, this is a show for adults disguised as a show made for preschoolers, and preschoolers alone. That's why it sneaks in those occasional adult jokes that eventually get censored in America. Like Bingo asking how babies get in ladies' bellies, or Bandit talking about wanting to get a vasectomy, or how we see the adults drink on occasion, which most of that didn't really get censored, but that's besides the point. The show isn't afraid of adding these in, or getting into serious topics that I'll be explaining later on. Besides, who do you think makes the show? Grown-ups, just like every other kid show out there. It's like I said before, they love voicing these characters, they love putting effort into the music and the animation, plus it manages to bring in big celebrity guest stars like Lin-Manuel Miranda, or Rose Byrne, or Academy Award-winning actress Natalie Portman. Plus Australian celebrities like Robert Irwin, who's the son of Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter, or Anthony Field, who you may remember from another popular kids show, The Wiggles. Clearly these people show so much dedication to the show and treat it like it's art, and it never feels like they used any form of AI to write or animate the show for them. Why do you think it has all these fun quotes and genius and emotional lines of dialogue? And it's not just something to keep kids occupied for a little bit, because that wasn't even the intention from the very beginning. It's comforting. Let's face it, this current generation has so many faults, and people just tend to have a hard time living with it. What are things people deal with at this time? Controversies, toxic people, political subjects that cause outrage, and because of that, we just feel like we need to be alone and need something that doesn't insult us, something that just helps us see life differently, and think to ourselves, why can't our world be more like this? You hear many people say Bluey is their comfort show, and there are many valid reasons as to why. It speaks to the viewer, not just kids, in very deep ways, and it teaches anyone something they can relate to, how people don't have the chance to be young again, or how we may not be ready to move on from our parents when they go. It's best to watch something we can laugh and cry at, or in this case, with it. Bluey doesn't like to tackle subjects that might offend the viewer, and don't give me that crap about how exercise was promoting fat shaming, because that was not the intention at all. People struggle with it all the time. I was actually inspired by it to want to keep my weight off, as I was struggling with it so long that I finally managed to keep it off for good, even after over a year and a half later, and I have that episode to thank for that. Joe Brown may have made some things to episodes that might turn the viewer off, but he's never trying to purposefully upset the viewer. Besides, there's more positivity to the show than negative. That's why it's the perfect show for us to watch to escape from the current world we live in. That beautiful music, that gorgeous scenery, its lovable characters. It's more comforting for adults who just wish the world was a better place to live in. Just put on an episode, it doesn't matter how old you are, and just enjoy the fact it's giving you something positive to think about. That's why it's helped so many adults get over the things they struggle with and look more to the positive sides of things. There's no rule to needing a kid to watch it, just embrace your inner child and feel like you're going back into the days of much simpler times. It's the perfect escape from the internet, especially since the internet is always full of toxicity. Plus, it may be obvious, but it's literally about dogs. Dogs that act like us. And we all know how comforting dogs are most of the time. Even dogs themselves watch the show. I'm not even kidding. Like, apparently the intention for the colors of the show was to make it appeal to a dog audience as well. That's why it involves dogs, why the colors look like this, even though it's not really that noticeable. But like I said, there's so much creativity behind the show. But yeah, it's literally about dogs. Dogs that act like us, but still have that dog energy in them once in a while. How could you not love something involving dogs? Now yes, Paw Patrol is a kid's show also involving dogs, And kids definitely enjoy it more than their parents because it was made to keep kids entertained. But to me, that's different because humans still exist in that world, while the dogs in Bluey pretty much are the humans. Just watch the show on your own terms, you'll more than likely get something positive out of it. Role models. If Bluey has taught us anything, it's that perfection doesn't exist. Every single person has their faults, and Bluey manages to teach us that with many of its characters going through issues of their own. Characters like Muffin are often misunderstood due to their actions, but there's such a more positive side to her than one would expect. She's one of the most iconic characters, and I literally wouldn't change a single thing about her. She's the type of kid who is still learning in life and is the type of kid parents have related to because they have kids more on the side of having so much energy and the fact they aren't good at controlling their actions. Not to mention, she does slowly start to learn without getting upset. She isn't another Caillou or another George Pig, but a toddler that is actually the perfect representation of kids in our time. I talked about Muffin a lot before, just check out my video on the top 10 best Muffin episodes. Of course, Bluey has been able to also look at characters dealing with these things other people have dealt with before, and have dealt with it their whole lives. Like in Turtle Boy, when we're introduced to a young Cavapoo boy named Dougie who's dealt with deafness, and the way they portray him is done so maturely with how his mother communicates with him, and how his mother, along with Bandit teaching Bingo about how it's best to leave things you want behind, that way their owner will look for them. Or how about Chili's sister Brandy, who wants kids but is suffering through infertility, and while yes, she did get pregnant in the sign, but I don't think it really hurts the message, as there are different types of ways on getting that fixed. And I don't know much about that, so I won't go any further, but it's still something we as the viewer see as relatable when it comes to these characters. Bluey certainly also knows how kids feel when starting kindergarten for the first time, such as Leela, who is relatively shy when it comes to wanting to make new friends, but still manages to get one on her very first day, who she's committed to being friends with forever, and Bingo herself commits to it as well. Not only can this be relatable for kids, but adults too, who went through this experience as a child. But of course, the biggest character, and probably the most important to come out of these issues, is Jack. Jack's become a fan favorite for many good reason, as he was diagnosed with ADHD, being unable to remember what he was told or sitting still, and sometimes his family can't fully understand his condition, but that's why characters like Jack are so important. It's truly hard to make a character that represents someone going through ADHD or autism in a positive manner. While other kids' shows certainly have tackled these themes before, I feel like Bluey has certainly done it the best when it comes to the character. He isn't just relatable for the kids with these conditions, but also for the adults who grew up with these conditions. Joe Brum understands these conditions and how to replicate it without it feeling offensive or stereotypical. I myself have suffered through these conditions as a child, and to this day still do, and I'm not afraid to admit it. And I still do get made fun of it and judged for it as if it's something I can help. No one with these conditions can. That's why somebody on Reddit actually made a project about these issues with the use of fan art of Jack from the show. And it discusses these themes beautifully, and I highly recommend looking at it. Not only is it an excellent look at these themes, but the artwork for Jack is so well done. And it shows people can still make wholesome fan art of something popular without it feeling like, well, you know, the other kind of art. Showing people truly understand what the show is trying to show us. There always seems to be a character from the show we can relate to because the characters represent us as people and how we certainly aren't perfect and we have our own problems. Every Bluey fan has that one character that speaks to them the most. Like, let me know down in the comment, which character speaks to you the most? If you're a Bluey fan, let me know. I'd be curious to know. I'm not sure which character speaks to me the most. Probably Mackenzie, because there are just times where I feel like he could be just the most relatable character, in my opinion. Anyways, like I mentioned before, it has a character that speaks to everyone. From your grandparents to teachers, it shows us you're not alone when it comes to your personality. This is why the show defines the word wholesome. it's not afraid to go dark. There is no denying how joyful Bluey is when it comes to its world, and its helpful and meaningful lessons, but it's never afraid of going deeper than that. In the episode Copycat, it starts off playfully as Bluey copies what her dad does, but they then stop as they see a budgie lying on the ground and possibly dying, and they try to help it by taking it to the vet, but they weren't able to save it in time as the bird dies. They even mention with their own words that the bird dies. And it might have been just a bird, but it doesn't make it any less dark. What I also find interesting is that in the Minnesota letter, Bandit wrote a story as a kid and even mentioned he had a pet bird. This shows how much it hurt Bandit just as much as it did Bluey. This also happened in an episode of Arthur when DW's pet bird dies. But of course, in Bluey Season 3, they reveal about how Chili's mom had moved on in such a deep metaphorical way, because clearly she's not around either. And because we see how much of a great mother her own mother was, it makes us truly feel when she had to move on. That's why there's so much character to these parents than one would think. It truly makes us feel when her mother had to move on, and it makes us connect more when we see she still worries about her father who's still currently alive. But death isn't the only thing, as of course one of the biggest Bluey theories shocked the world when it turned out to be true. That of course being Chili's miscarriage. While they never mentioned she had a miscarriage, they do show it in a way that had viewers believe she had one, when Bluey and Bingo are pretending to reenact their parents' love story, and when it gets to the pregnancy part, Bingo's balloon, which represents the pregnancy, pops, and Bandit quickly grabbed her hand to comfort her because of how traumatic it was for her. Just like how it was traumatic for every mother at the time when they had to go through it. This is why the show wasn't originally supposed to be for kids. It's not afraid of taking on subjects that we as people have had to go through in life. It has more than just basic stuff you see in other kids shows. We live in a time where, despite the fact the media industry wants to keep preschooler shows as kid-friendly as possible, Disney's been trying to do that with Bluey, but hey, I got the Blu-ray, and it has all the Australian originals, no censorship whatsoever. As far as I know, I think one episode was still removed, but regardless, it's still a better way than Disney+. But Bluey still has ways of sneaking in those subjects without a care in the world, even if Disney censors it. Relatability. There is always something to Bluey that manages to bring in something literally anyone can relate to. To name a few in terms of what I mean, it shows how when it comes to going to the movies, kids are a little too hyperactive or nervous going to experience a film for the first time, or how we feel upset but tend to get up and continue with our lives or our current activities, or kids skipping a sleep, causing them to act up, or becoming a parent for the first time, or dads adding in humor to the mix once in a while, or life in general, as we all get curious about things in life, especially children. There are tons of ways that Bluey can relate to anyone of any age. That's what truly connects the audience to the show, as they think to themselves, yeah, I'm glad I'm not alone on this. Because of that, some people were upset with how the sign ended, which I do not agree with at all. As people were upset because the healers were supposed to move, but they didn't. Because of that, people who had no choice but to move away from their homes and start new adventures can't relate. I get what they mean, but the thing is, Bandit didn't choose to stay. He didn't choose to just say, you know what, forget it, I'm not selling the house. It was the people who were originally buying the house who changed their minds after finding a different one. Plus, while the show is certainly relatable in other departments, I don't think they understood why it ended like that. It was their home, and it felt like home to them, as if it was part of their family to begin with. Just because they didn't move and the viewers who also had plans to move from their homes can't relate to it now, that doesn't mean the show can't be relatable in other ways. I mean, some people even got mad by the ending, which I am shocked by, actually. Like, did the moment of Bandit throwing the sign not get to you? Did the scene where Chili hugged Bandit, tackling him on the ground, not get to you? Was the music not deep or emotional enough? It was literally impossible for me to not shed a tear during that, but Look, I'm just saying I do not agree with those reactions. I honestly thought it was a great way to end it. It really shouldn't make people turn away from the show because of the fact it has had so many other ways throughout these past few years of speaking to the viewer in a positive nature. Like, all Chili wanted to do was take her kids to the park, but she got mad because her kids were doing other things first, and she got so irritated by it. She even hurts her foot by stepping on a toy, just like how it affects us when we step on Legos with our bare feet. Oh yeah, speaking of, yes, I will check out the Bluey Lego sets when they release. And who knows, I may do a video on it. Or how about the fact we have to face new challenges, like when Bandit screwed up making the duck cake, or when parents take their kids grocery shopping, or the movies like I mentioned before. Things about us we can't control, or going through past events that gave us trauma. There's so many things that the show gives us that tells us when it comes to these problems we face. Some that are common and some that are much deeper than that. It simply never shies away from showing us problems we've dealt with before, or things we have to go through in life. It's not afraid of talking to us. And I don't mean in the way that Dora talks to us when she asks questions to the kids. Wait, I already talked about that. So yeah, I'm just moving on. It speaks to parents just as much to the kids. Even if you're not a parent, there's still a lot for you to learn from it if you ever do see yourself wanting to be one. I myself see my future having kids in it, because Joe Brum himself is a parent. He has spoken to the parent audience with so many relatable moments, like wondering if you want to expand your family with more kids, or if you want kids but struggle from having the ability to being able to bring children into the world. Because let's look at an episode that is declared one of the all-time greatest in Bluey's library of episodes. That being Baby Race. First off, let me just say something. 1. Baby Bluey. This is one of the cutest things I've ever seen from a children's program when it comes to a baby version of the lead child character in a kid's show. This was one of the things I painted in one of my shorts. 2. Can we appreciate how Baby Bluey is always portrayed in this episode as a happy little pup rather than just a baby crying every 5 seconds? While it's normal for a baby to cry, of course, I love how it's not focusing on that, and just having Bluey being a lovable baby that isn't getting upset over something and breaking out into tears. 3rd, here's the one piece of Bluey logic that's kind of odd. You know how Sock's first form was a puppy on 4 legs, but when it got to later seasons, she's standing on 2 feet, like everyone else in the show, yet Bluey always had 2 hands and 2 feet as a baby, and not all 4s. That's something that's been on people's minds a lot, but I personally don't care about it. Anyways, this episode focuses on Chili teaching Bluey how to walk for the first time. She wanted to try getting it done before baby judo, but so far, baby Bluey has only managed to roll and bum shuffle, you know, like how dogs scratch their butts on the carpet sometimes, and Chili feels like she's not doing something right and is worried her parenting skills aren't working right. We, as the audience, feel bad because of this. Mothers can relate to this because it's not easy being a parent at first. There's a lot of responsibilities when it comes to raising a newborn, and by the end of the episode, Coco's mom tells her that she had to raise so many puppies in her life. And then by the end of her conversation with Chili, she says this specific line, but in the perspective as if she was talking to all the mothers out there.
You're doing great.
Clearly, this message is for the mothers, not the kids. It's encouraging mothers that as long as you're teaching them the right stuff, you shouldn't always have to compare yourself to other mothers and just run your own race on raising your child. You're a great parent all around, and by the end of the episode, Bluey gets up on her feet for the very first time and walks to her mother just before the credits roll, and as Chili tears up with joy, the mothers watching cry with joy as well. When kids watch the episode, they just expect some entertainment and not really caring, but the parents will fully get the message. This is why I mentioned the show was originally made to be an adult cartoon. But that's not all. It also shows parents, at least ones still in love, showing you gotta take the good with the bad of your relationships. Even when you two have gross habits or squabble once in a while, or how parents have to go on their adventures even if they have to leave their kids behind for a bit, or how sometimes we have bad thoughts that gets us worried, and all we want to do is focus on our families while we're on vacation, or the struggle of messing up on something and we just get stressed over it. Or when we need time for ourselves once in a while, or sometimes we just gotta live the moment while we're still young. Or sometimes we just need to commit to the bit if we want to make our children happy while also teaching our kids important things that they can learn. Like how having a favorite kid is selfish, and you should always love your kids equally. I know some people think the episode Mini Bluey was about favoritism, but like I mentioned, a lot of moments in Bluey might give some people the wrong idea, but I don't want to get into that. But that's why people call Bandit a god-tier dad, while other cartoon dads and kids programs are just there to be the parent to the main kid character, or Daddy Pig just being treated like he's an idiot, or a punching bag by letting his kids make fun of his big tummy. Bandit is willing to do anything to make his kids happy. He loves his kids. He's happy to be a father, even if it means getting in embarrassing or painful situations. He's literally one of the best cartoon parents out there. He even is a great parent to kids who aren't even his own kids, like getting Pom Pom more involved in activities in Seesaw. And I'm sorry, I know this may be a cartoon, but I'm sorry, I can't trust anyone who calls him a bad father. To me, that's like saying Butt Cluck from Chicken Little is the king of animated dads. If he were, he wouldn't have let his son be the clown of the city and had just defended him. Also, Bandit was even awarded Father of the Year once without even existing. Also, it even shows other parents in the show trying their best as well, like how Stripe might not be the best when it comes to being a parent, but does try, and learning from other parents so you yourself can be just as good as a parent as they are. Even showing parents how you and your partner are a team when it comes to raising them. I just love how it focuses so much on the parents just as much as the kids, which is something that most preschooler shows don't really do that often. It's easily one of the best ones to learn when it comes to being a parent, and I wish this came out much sooner in my life. Parents love it more than kids. If you ever see a post on the internet about a parent making a Bluey post and they say, "I don't know who's more excited, me or my kid," because it's obvious the parents were. Now, let's go back to a time when Caillou was a big thing for kids. Parents loathed Caillou. And even to this day, they still despise it, even with a reboot out. The problem with the show is how, yes, it's trying to show kids how to control their emotions when it comes to them getting upset, but it's in a way that just makes it too hard to want to feel bad for the kids. Whether it being the littlest things like wanting to go to the circus but can't go till tomorrow, or always wanting to get your way and crying because you don't get it, or being abusive towards your new siblings. It doesn't have anything that parents enjoy wanting to watch it with their kids. Or how about Barney? There was a time back when Barney was big, parents just hated it so much. They made a whole club dedicated to destroying Barney stuff. There was even a documentary about this on Peacock called I Love You, You Hate Me. Well, nowadays, kids who grew up with Barney still have nostalgia for it, but it still has its share full of haters. I get why, it focuses on the kids and is trying to speak to the kids. Bluey, on the other hand, has made parents fall in love with it, with the positive messages it brings to the viewer. I myself would gladly show this over Barney or Caillou for those reasons alone if I did have kids. It's not just some show you turn on for your kids. No, you as the parent should watch it with them. It's far easier to enjoy than many would think. And look, before I go into any further, I am not trying to diss anyone who's an adult who loves Barney. If it makes you happy, then more power to you. Anyways, there are even times where parents decide to give Bluey a watch on their own without children, like I've mentioned multiple times already. There's no narration that tells the viewer what's going on, even when it's obvious, or characters talking to you through the screen. It's like an experience that takes you on a journey with them through common subjects of reality, and I even see parents get upset and post how their kids stopped watching Bluey and moved on to something else. That's okay, because you yourself can watch it by yourself. There's no requirement to needing a kid to watch Bluey. That's why parents enjoy watching it more. It's more for them than their kids. Episodes like Rug Island even show parents how to embrace their inner kid, because it's okay to show it off once in a while. Plus, it balances emotion and humor more beautifully than most of what the MCU has been trying to do. Episodes have made parents tear up so many times, and if they need to watch an episode by themselves to feel those emotions, they can. Completely kid-free. It gets people talking. There are so many hidden details to Bluey that gets people online wanting to discuss things in the show. There are so many theories behind the show you won't believe, and discussions about certain things in the show that get people chatting about too. Like, what exactly was Bandit upset about in the episode Stickbird. Yeah, that's what it was. I can't believe I almost forgot the episode there. Or if Bandit and Chili actually did meet as kids, or if Muffin was trying to help Socks find her voice in charades, or why Bingo was in the hospital, or, of course, the miscarriage theory that actually turned out to be true, or many other theories I find interesting. Except the Bandit and Wendy one. That one I don't even want to think about, or the Pat and Chili one. Or how about those little tiny details that most people don't even notice, like how there's a long dog in every single episode that everybody just has such a fun time trying to spot out. Or how about, those other little Easter eggs that they put in there, like the Wiggles, or how about in the mini-sode Alongside, where Honey clearly seems to be a fan of Harry Potter, which is very unique. But of course, other details too, like Winton's dad looks like he's trying to get with the terrier's mom in TV Shop, and then they get together in The Sign, or other theories too, like why was Bingo in the hospital and whatnot. It gets people talking, and yeah, the community on the internet can argue about these certain things, but literally every community to a popular thing, whether it be a cartoon, or a sci-fi TV show, or something like Star Wars, every popular thing gets argumentative when it comes to their fan base. Shows like Steven Universe and Gravity Falls had that, but I don't care. I ignore the community and continue to love those shows. But really, hardly any kids show gets people talking like this. The creators do such a great job with these little details, it's actually incredible. If you look at channels like Aussie Girl Margie, who is all about Bluey-related content, she has had so many theory videos about it, even some that people never even heard of. That's what makes the show unique. It gets people talking. The ones that aren't kids. I mean, there's even a reference when the parents are clearly talking about Stranger Things. No kid out there whatsoever is gonna get that. At least not one that's 5 or 6. There's always that little detail that manages to sneak its way in that gets people talking. That's why I say these people always love to take the time to be creative without having to rush or let AI do the work for them. A single episode alone takes 5 months to make. So I think it makes sense why we have to wait 2 years for the movie to be released. And those 5 months clearly managed to pay off most of the time. I myself, while this may be hard to believe, don't hate any of the episodes. Do I love them all? No. There are some I find to be alright, like Wild Girls, Circus, or maybe Blue Mountains, but that's just it. Bluey has won me over so much, it's hard for me to truly be judgmental over it. Others might not feel the same way, but no one's gonna have the same taste. It's always nice to see someone discuss these things as long as it's not turning into a fight. Muffin is what Caillou should have been. The Bluey community can be kind of split with Muffin. Some people, like myself, adore her to bits for her chaotic personality and her cuteness. Other times, she's hated for her chaotic personality. I have said this many times, but there are many reasons why she's portrayed this way. Because Muffin, believe it or not, is far more important than she seems. You see, the problem with Caillou is that while he does learn things occasionally, because he starts out being aggressive and complaining about these things he needs to experience as a child, without giving it a chance first, is what ruins it. Because his actions are so rude and they just assume they always gotta whine about it first before actually giving it a chance, or before having to learn. Look, I get it. It's supposedly trying to show how we can't let our emotions get to us, but it doesn't need to be shown all the time. When Bluey shows characters crying, it's handled so much better. They don't always break out and whine. They usually just show tears coming out while staying silent. That's what makes us connect with them more and actually make us feel bad for them. The only time we truly hear kids get upset is in Pass the Parcel, but they manage to get better during that episode and learning that it's okay when you lose a game. Besides, Caillou himself is so dull when it comes to his character, not to mention he's so cruel to his sister on occasion. He threw sand in her eyes, cried because she took his shirt, and of course, the most infamous thing he did to her, he pinched her as a baby, which I heard originally, believe it or not, I'm not sure if this is true, but I heard he was originally supposed to bite her. That's what I heard, at least, but I'm not trying to laugh here, but that would have been even worse.
But the worst thing about it is that his parents hardly ever scold him or do what's best for him. Even after his actions, he still manages to get rewarded when it isn't even earned. It's like sometimes they're afraid to what Caillou's gonna do if they decide to punish him. They don't even scold him for abusing his sister. Moments later, they still let him hold her, when I wouldn't even do that if he was my own kid, especially not after that. He's always let off easy, even after all the amounts of complaining he's done. And if you thought the fact that Disney banned 2 Bluey episodes, get a load of this. Caillou has over 10 banned episodes, which I'm not complaining because, well, more Bluey and less Caillou? Yeah, that's exactly what the world needs. Seriously, like, you read the title of the video, you know what we're talking about. But you want to know what the saddest part of my childhood was? I missed out on shows like Bill Nye the Science Guy, and was mostly watching Caillou during my preschool years. I could have been hooked on science, and it could have gotten me more into it as I got older, but all I was taught as a kid was how to complain about the littlest of things.
This is how Muffin manages to be more relatable to parents who raise these types of kids, as she manages to have these chaotic actions of her own, but she still shows she can still learn things by the end. Plus, her parents are able to give her discipline for her actions when it's best for her, because raising kids is not easy, and with all the stuff poor Muffin had to go through, like skipping a sleep or having to wear a comb because she keeps sucking her thumb, her actions are basically what makes most toddlers uncontrollable, but still learning things without it feeling like it isn't earned, which it is for Muffin in my eyes. Plus, Muffin shows she still has a good heart to her. She does show her love for her family once in a while. It's been shown in Bluey multiple times, like Muffin holding Sock's ice block for her, or buckling her seatbelt for her. Well, sure, she may not have shared with her like she should have in the episode Facey Talk, but Socks isn't really getting upset. She's more on the lines of being more annoyed with her, because clearly these things have happened before. Her energetic personality and the fact she's still so young is what makes her a kid parents can relate to when it comes to raising a kid like her without it feeling like they're always crying every 5 seconds. Honestly, if she was more calm and sweet like Bingo, she honestly wouldn't be as memorable. She would just be more like Bingo, but a small white and gray version of Bingo. And to me, that's not nearly as memorable as something like this. Plus, her actions are done in a way that's far more funny than annoying. Her voice fits her perfectly, and she's really more tame than she seems to be. She never breaks out into tears. She does throw a tantrum a few times, but she never cries when it seems like she's getting hurt. She may not understand things at first, but she manages to listen once in a while. She has her flaws, but every kid does, and this is the type of kid where her aggressiveness is done in a more suitable way for kids who had been through these types of actions. She's how toddlers who misbehave should be when it comes to them misbehaving and not being abusive towards others, and able to slowly learn. That's why I love seeing her on screen. She has had a hard time learning, she has a hard time listening, but her cute appearance and her use of humorous bits make her what she is. If you want to see more what I mean when it comes to Muffin, I recommend checking out Pugly's video on how Muffin is Bluey's most misunderstood character, because she's far from being bad in my eyes. This is why I consider her one of Bluey's best characters. She's the toddler most parents have, but you should still show you love them despite their actions. It's genius. When you first look at the poster for the show and you have no idea what it's even about, Genius is probably not the first thing you think of. But underneath that style is a show that feels like it was made by scientists who feel like they have the ability to save the lives of many. I already talked about the show's creativity and the themes it tackles, but if we look much deeper, we can see it has so much more brilliance than we give it credit for. Many kids' movies have managed to have serious subjects behind them that make them feel more than just kids' films, and have been creative with what they're trying to tell us without being too kid-friendly. The problems with shows like Peppa Pig or Caillou is that they always tell the audience what's going on through narration, even when it's unnecessary. I get it's so kids will understand better, but when it comes to the parents watching with the kid, they will probably get annoyed because they already know what's going on. Bluey has absolutely no lines of narration whatsoever. It manages to explain things to the audience without having to explain unless it's necessary. Episodes like Sleepy Time tells a story without having to tell us what's going on. It's such a beautiful way, as it focuses on Bingo being worried about being separated from the people she loves. But it shows us that they'll still always be with us even if they aren't there with us, whether they passed on, or we live far away from them, or how parents can teach their kids important themes just by playing games with them, because it's better than having to constantly yell at them hoping they'll listen, or the way the life cycle works, from being born to having to go somewhere else when our time has come. That's why the pacing of the show is so good. It wastes no time and gets right to the point, which is something that I want to see more in shows like this. Even when it comes to the kids pretending to be parents, like Rusty and Indy playing mums and dads, and how it explains how raising a kid is better when you have both partners raising your baby with you. That's why the fact that divorce is common nowadays can be sad, because the show can also explain how we may not always be able to express our love towards our partners, but we can still be able to work things out in the end, even if we raise someone like Muffin. Muffin's actions are also genius, like I mentioned before in my last entry, when it comes to her portrayal as a toddler. It gives us these messages in such mature and genius ways that makes people actually want to learn something in life. I feel like if some people just took the time to get to know something first, they'll soon come to realize you can't judge something due to its looks. It's like in the first Shrek movie where he was always being judged for being a monster, when underneath those layers of green skin is actually a much more understanding person. He was able to show that when he met his friends, and he himself got a family out of it. Of course, people have been judgmental over the looks of Shrek 5, but I don't want to get into that now. What I'm saying is, if you're willing to give the show a chance, you'll more than likely come to realize that people have some brains to them when making it. It's less Cocomelon and more Studio Ghibli. Which brings us to, in my opinion, the most important reason of all. The reason I feel this show is more important than anyone could realize. And that's the fact that it's for everyone. Whenever you hear someone say that you're too old for Bluey, or you'll outgrow Bluey, or when are you too old for Bluey, or Bluey is just for kids, that's like saying you're too old to play video games, which I think is already stupid. I mean, who do you think reviews the video games on Metacritic or YouTube? Kids? If that's the case, then I should stop playing games like The Last of Us or Grand Theft Auto, or that's also like saying you're too old to be watching Disney or Pixar, which has tons of mature themes that adults can learn just as much as kids. Those people that say you'll outgrow Bluey are more wrong than ever. You only outgrow it if you feel like you will, when really you aren't. When I look back at shows like Dora, or Caillou, or Barney, or Cocomelon, or Paw Patrol, I do feel like they're more focused on kids rather than grown-ups. And like I mentioned before, I'm not trying to diss anyone who likes any of those as adults. A lot of people have nostalgia and grew up with shows like Barney, but I get why a lot of people have been turned off by them, because it speaks more to the kids. But again, if you're an adult and still enjoy those shows, you can still enjoy those shows, and you shouldn't feel bad feeling that it's only made for kids. If it makes you happy, more power to you. But as we're discussing Barney, here's one thing that most people could probably agree with. That Barney reboot. Clearly, it was aimed towards the kid audience. But again, if you're an adult who enjoys it, then more power to you. But I think most people can agree that Cocomelon is literally aimed towards the youngest of audiences and doesn't do anything for the parents. That's why they do memes about, I'm not a Cocomelon parent, or we're gonna watch a horror movie or something. If I was a parent, I probably wouldn't go that far, but I would definitely recommend Bluey over Cocomelon any day. But literally, with Bluey, it has something anyone of any age can get out of it. It has things for parents, non-parents, kids, elders, teachers. It speaks to anybody at any age, no matter if you're a kid, a parent, or a kidless adult. There are no requirements for anyone to enjoy the show. And that is why I feel like shows like this are super rare nowadays. Because most of the time they only appeal to one specific audience. Because I feel like most shows only appeal to a specific type of audience, but there have been so many like this to speak to anybody and appeal to anybody at any age. There are many reasons why it has become the most watched show of last year and has broken so many records for that. There's a reason you see it everywhere. There's a reason they make memes on how this show has made such an impact on so many people rather than just kids. There are so many reasons why there are shorts of adults crying over it. It started off as that show seen in another country, but became so much bigger when it came to America. Besides, there have been so many pieces of adult merch too, you hardly can find any piece of Peppa Pig or Paw Patrol merch in a store, or at least ones that were licensed. But it's become so common for them to release pieces of Bluey clothing for adults. Hot Topic has put so many of them throughout the past few months, and so has Walmart, Target, Kohl's, literally any clothing store nowadays.
Alright, to prove my point, I got all the Bluey clothing that I got that were made for adults. And I'm going to mention which stores I got them from to show that, you know, the people clearly know of how much this show speaks to adults more than just kids. But, yeah. Target, Hot Topic, Target, Box Lunch, Walmart, Target, Bluey's Big Play, gift shop, Walmart, Hot Topic, Target, Box Lunch. Okay, actually this one isn't licensed, but I just loved whoever made this dark sense of humor. Yeah, you get the point of this one. Amazon, but it was licensed. Target, Hot Topic, Box Lunch, Bluey's Big Play gift shop, Walmart, Hot Topic, Target, Box Lunch, Kohl's, Hot Topic, Box Lunch, Hot Topic, Target, Walmart, Kohl's, Walmart, Box Lunch, Walmart, Spirit Halloween. This one, I'm sure was from Amazon, but this was actually a gift, but it's licensed. Hot Topic. Oh yeah, and the hat in the video, the one that I was currently wearing, it was Hot Topic, and the sweater was Walmart.
And yes, because of its popularity, it does have the occasional crazy fandom that gets a little too overboard, especially since this is supposedly, from its looks, just another kid's show. It doesn't change anything about the show, and that should never stop someone from enjoying the thing they love watching. It doesn't change anything about the show in my eyes, because I still see a show that has taught me things more than what I learned without it. I was never big into My Little Pony, but because shows like this made such a big impact on me, it made me appreciate more on why that was so big on many people when it comes to why it had such a big following to guys even. And I respect it more for that, because I love Bluey. I want to continue to love it. I love what it's done for all these people. If I had to look back and decide between most of the stuff I watched as a kid, like Dora, or Caillou, or Teletubbies, or Barney, or what else? Well, you get my point. I would choose Bluey over those, in my opinion. Of course, that doesn't mean I want every show I watched when I was younger to go away. Sesame Street I'll keep, Mr. Rogers I'll keep, Arthur, Bear in the Big Blue House, and Blue's Clues, which was also about a female dog, and people to this day who grew up watching it are still fond of the episode. Plus, I got to meet Steve Burns last year, who was such a cool guy. I managed to get his autograph. Clearly, he loved working on the show, and to this day is still fond of it years later. He himself show that people who help with kids media, adults who help with kids media, still have a great life in this time when it comes to being a good person. So if you go out online or in person and someone tells you you're a weirdo or an idiot for liking Bluey, calling you names for it, or getting bullied for it, you are not the problem. It's them. I, for one, had this problem a few times. For example, if you saw my video for the top 10 reasons why physical media should always be an option, there was a part in the beginning where I made Pikachu call me a homophobic slur for liking it.
Oh yeah, and get rid of that Bluey doll, because Bluey is lame, and the fact that you're still 24 years old and you still have that makes you a freaking f***it.
Well, believe it or not, that actually happened to me in real life. Not too long ago, actually. That happened to me last month. I was in the city, and I was just casually walking by, and someone passed by me with my Bluey sweater on, this Bluey sweater to be exact, and they called me that. But did that ever stop me from wanting to continue to love it? No, because most of the time I go out in public, I get more compliments than insults. I rarely get insults for wearing this stuff. And yes, I do wear it on occasion, and that was probably the only time I ever got something negative from another person about me wearing this type of stuff. Literally one time I went to an arcade and some random guy saw my Bluey plush backpack, the one that's hanging on the wall up there, and complimented it. He then asked if I had kids. I said no, of course, and he asked how much it was. I told him I got it from Journey's Kids. I know, weird, but that's not you get what I'm gonna say. For about $30, I believe. But then I come to the realization he wanted to buy it from me, which I refused, obviously. But I literally dressed up as Bandit Healer for GalaxyCon last year, and everybody took pictures with me. I hardly ever get a rude comment when it comes to wearing Bluey merch in public. And I'm going to be going as Bandit Healer for GalaxyCon this year as well. It's actually going to be next week, by the way, so yeah, you are going to see a video on my aftermath of that. Because like I said before, it's literally something anyone can enjoy if they took the time to watch it. I went to the Bluey play twice and got no rude comments whatsoever saying I don't belong there. I had so many conversations with so many nice people with their kids who also mentioned how they watch Bluey without their kid on occasion. I even met the mascot of Bluey twice, and I hugged her and they greatly accepted it, showing that, yeah, it's for everyone, not just kids.
I mean, honestly, I did not expect to love this show as much as I do. I don't watch this show with kids. It's for me.
Yes, it's for adults too. Absolutely.
100%.
Hell, I didn't even hear about this show until my friend Brandon Bott, who you may know as Brandon's Movie Corner, posted about it many times, and I knew I had to watch it for myself, and was hooked from episode 1. And here I am with this kind of content on my channel in this room. I even tell it to other people too. So I pretty much have him to thank for that. I even tell it to other people too, like my dad, who also fell in love with it. He always mentions how much he loves Bingo, and I told my friend Keen Bainham, also known as Movie Fan 21, was it 21 or 23? I'm sorry if I know, you're one of my best friends, and I'm forgetting your username right now, but whatever, you get what I mean. On YouTube, who you may remember as he made appearances on my channel before, he loves it too when I told him about it. My friend Caleb Kleinstra, he loves it too. And all of them are adults. Neither Keen or Caleb has kids like me. Why else do you think there have been so many videos on adults watching it themselves on TikTok, or why these other celebs have made appearances on the show? Natalie Portman stated how she felt Bluey was one of the best things she was a part of. And she was in movies like Black Swan, V for Vendetta, Annihilation, and all these other adult-themed movies. Also, Charlie Cox, who you know from Daredevil and whatnot, he is such a big fan of Bluey, he himself literally cosplayed as Bluey at a convention one time. And people love the guy, so the fact that the show won him over too is another big reason why it's literally for anyone. And no one can outgrow it, even if they think they can. Plus, let's look at YouTubers like Peanut Butter Game, who has made a good amount of Arthur-related content from games to toys and movies, and people love when he makes content like that. Besides, when they showed Arthur all grown up, at the end of the very last episode, people compared him to PBG. So if he himself isn't afraid to show his love of Arthur to the world when he makes gaming or food-related content, no one should have to either when it comes to talking about what they love. I myself could care less if people say I'm weird for it. It just makes me want to make even more Bluey-related content. When I make Bluey-related content, I always want to make sure the comment section is as respectful as possible. I've had negative comments multiple times, but I just get rid of them because I know I'm not wrong for loving it. Why do you think people cry over it when it comes to their meetings? When has a parent ever cried over anything like Cocomelon or Caillou when they... well, you get what I mean. Seriously, when? With all these reasons I have brought up, I simply can't tell you how impactful the show has become. It deserves its praise. It deserves the awards given to it. It's simply the type of show we hardly get. No one should have to feel awkward or weird for being a fan. Whether you're a teen, or a parent, or a non-parent, that's why I made those parodies with my Pikachu on him bullying me for being a fan of it. Because I don't care what others think. Yes, I'll delete the comments, but I do that because I don't want to start anything. I want to keep the comments as clean as possible. Unless they gave me fair reasons on why they're not a fan of the show. To me, Bluey is not a kid's show. It's less of a kid's show than you could imagine. If you put this on just for your kid while you do something else as a parent, I don't feel like it's the right way to be watching it. Because you're gonna miss out on the meanings behind it. Baby race, camping, cricket, army, granddad, duck cake, sleepy time, onesies, rain, turtle boy, the sign, stickbird, space, fairy tale, rug island, flat pack, facey talk, granny mobile, the creek, dragon, curry quest, promises, dad baby, the pool, takeaway. These are not episodes you just turn on for your kid and walk away. They have so much more than just your average kid messages. You literally have to watch them with your kid or alone. There's a reason why episodes like Sleepy Time has been declared one of the best cartoon episodes of all time. It feels more like a short that would be nominated for an Oscar than just another episode to a preschooler show. And I know how long this video has been going on for, and I keep repeating what I say, but this needs to be said more of. I don't want people to feel embarrassed for enjoying it. I want others out there to give it at least a chance, even if it's just a couple of episodes. If I was embarrassed, I wouldn't be making this video, and I wouldn't have made those other pieces of Bluey-themed content. And because I've upgraded this room so much, I would make another room tour video, even if 1 million people, dissed me for it. I don't care. If I did do it, it would probably be like when they do announce the date for the movie, but yeah. But I'm just saying, no one, and I mean no one, should ever feel like they're wrong. As long as it makes them happy, as long as they are being fans in the way we want them to be, then it's not a huge deal like some would think. It has so much more value to it. And not only did we need it, but in this current day and age, the world needed it. In a place where it's all about negativity and thinking the world is a cruel place now, and it's okay to be negative, to bring up ways to fix those negatives so people will know. But if we always stay that way and not focus on what we love at certain times, then what's the point of looking at the good once in a while? That's why I'm more excited than concerned that we're actually getting a Bluey movie. They might have stated that it was going to be computer animated and Disney was going to be a part of it, but as long as I know Joe Brum is working on it and Ludo was still going to be a part of it, that's more than enough for me to be excited. And despite the fact that Joe Brum has stated he's not going to be focused on the show after, it's possible someone who has helped on the show and understands what makes it so popular might be taking it over as long as they know who to give it to when we do see more. Then anything's possible. Yes, that didn't work with SpongeBob most of the time, but that's a different story, and people still remember how great the classic episodes were. And I'm just happy we're getting a movie regardless. There is so much good to the show that I always focus on that than the bad. It's won me over with its wholesomeness, its charm, its messages, its gorgeous style, and its lovable characters. It's hard for me to look at the bad, because there's hardly any, in my opinion. It's not perfect. Nothing ever is. If there's one thing that the episode Perfect has taught us, is that perfection doesn't exist. But you can still do anything you put your mind to. That's why it's, in my opinion, the most important show that's aimed towards preschoolers. And it can literally be viewed by anyone at any age, with or without kids. You never needed them to begin with. And let me tell you, if anyone ever judges you for that, if anyone makes fun of you for that, or if anyone says Bluey is for kids and you're too old for it, or any kid show in general, well, just simply tell them this.
And why should I care?
Sometimes those Bluey quotes can be very helpful. If it was AI writing the show, it wouldn't be as helpful. But anyways, I've gone about this for so long, but I just had to talk about this because of how much Bluey has made an impact on me and how it's changed me. It'll honestly make you feel better. Just ignore the crazy community and focus on the show, and you'll thank me later. But let me know down in the comments if I missed anything else that makes it important, because I'm sure I did. And hey, let me know in the comments why you guys got into Bluey, and why is it important to you, or what was the most important kids show you watched when you were younger, and why was it so important to you, and to this day, still important to you. And thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and maybe subscribe for more. You can also follow me on Twitter, or X, or maybe Instagram, or Bluey Sky. Sorry. Blue Sky. Yes, I totally meant to make that pun. I deeply apologize, but I'm ending the video now. But anyways, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Word out.